And this is only the beginning. There's so many of these cropping up recently in the States. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and talk. Let's have a conversation, a chat, if you will, for better or worse, about something that happened recently in Idaho. They had passed by a not so insignificant margin Bill HB 675. Now, if you don't know what this bill does, it hurts trans kids. There you go. Video over. Done. But if you want to continue watching the video, after the fan art section, we'll get into the text of the bill and talk about why it's an actual issue. So, this YouTubing now? Oh boy, now this is YouTubing. Anyway, sorry, had to do that terrible reference to episode 1, a movie that gets better and better every time I watch it, because I start to realize that I am more interested in the politics than anything else in that film. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the fan art section, which will happen as soon as I get to the part of the fan art, because for some reason, when you move away from a tab in Discord, it resets you to a random point in the conversation, which is not what I want to be at. So, we have here another piece from the wonderful Kitterdoodle. Says a cozy Raziel in a panda / Sylveon Kigu with a warm cup of tea. I hope your recovery is going well. This was sent in after Raz had gotten her hysterectomy. So, thank you very much for that one, Kitterdoodle. The next one we have is from Smacko. And it's, well, every single time somebody subscribes to my channel, which you should do if you're over on Twitch. If you haven't already, I mean, I'm not going to force you to, but I would greatly appreciate it. Every time somebody subs, Lulu starts giving her insane laughter. And this is just me slowly descending into madness as Lulu continues to laugh incessantly, and will never end. Ryoko, thank you for redeeming your points for owl. Yeah, like that. That one right there. That one exactly. Thank you, Ivana Dragmeyer. Thank you for that. The next one we have is from the Robotic Kitty. Said a quick sketch. I've had this in my head since beginning of the current stream I'm listening to. It is me as an actual cat and Raz as an actual panda. And yeah, that's a thing. Greatly appreciate all the fan art, everybody. If you would like your fan art to be shown in a future episode, the best way to do so would be to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. Nakibreed, thank you for gifting out a tier 1 sub, as my stomach gives me issues and makes me feel like I have to belch into the mic. I don't want to do that. What I do want to do is I do want to cover this bill. We're going to read the actual text of it because we're boring like that here on the internet. Sorry about that. But legislator of the state of Ohio, relating to the genital mutilation of a child, amending. Ryoko, thank you for resubscribing. Amending Section 18 Idaho Code to provide for the crime of genital mutilation in certain instances, to provide certain exemptions, and to provide severability, and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. So, can I just ask something here? If you write this bill, do you consider the fact that circumcision is not a thing we should still be practicing? We don't have a reason to, really. All the arguments for hygiene can be solved by just proper hygiene. So that's like saying proper hygiene for your teeth is better managed by removing all of your fucking teeth. I'm sorry, it's a dumb argument. Pup is right. I miss my foreskin. Anyway, continuing on. Be it enacted by the legislature of the state of Ohio, Section 1, genital mutilation of a child, exclusions, penalties, definitions. Except as provided for in subsection 45 of this section, whoever knowingly circumcises, excises. Oh shit, they actually did put circumcision in here. I'm actually kind of happy about that one. But whoever knowingly circumcises, excises, or infibulates the whole or any part of the labia majora, labia minora, or clitoris of a child shall be guilty of a felony. Except as provided for in subsection 6 of this section, whoever knowingly engages in any of the following practices practices upon a child that circumcise, excise, infibulate, or mutilate the reproductive organs and parts of a child for the purpose of attempting to change or affirm that child's perception of the child's sex, if that perception is inconsistent with the child's biological sex, shall be guilty of a felony. All right, cool. So there we are. So we just hit the actual problem here. The issue is if it is done so that the child's perception of their sex is different than their assigned gender at birth. That's what their problem is. So if somebody goes, this isn't about trans kids. Yes, the fuck it is. Shut the fuck up. Performing surgeries that sterilize or mutilate, including castration, vasectomy, hysterectomy, oophorectomy, there's a long list of them. Vaginoplasty, reconstruction of the fixed part of the urethra with or without plastic surgery, performing a mastectomy. That is illegal as well. Boy, I sure hope kids who get early onset breast cancer and need a mastectomy to help with that early onset breast cancer do not need mastectomies. Huh. Does this prevent doctors from adjusting intersex babies at birth? I don't think it mentions it at all. I doubt it will mention it here at all. I doubt the person who wrote this bill knew intersex people existed. Administering or supplying the following medications that induce profound morphologic changes in the genitals of a child or induce transient or permanent infertility, like puberty blocking medication, superphysiological doses of testosterone, superphysiological dosage of estrogen, removing any otherwise healthy or non-diseased body part or tissue. I know that I've mentioned before that in general, you don't actually have genital manipulation, plastic surgery happening for minors. You don't. So this bill is addressing an issue that on the whole doesn't happen, but it's also hitting puberty blockers. Also transient infertility. Yes, vasectomies, that's birth control. That's banning too. I don't think that's banning birth control. Transient infertility is referring to things like a vasectomy, which is reversible, generally speaking. I don't think it includes birth control. At least I'm fairly certain. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if it did, but it doesn't read that way to me. So I'm going to stick with the whole, they're doing enough bad stuff, I don't need to add more in there. My big thing is the blocking of puberty blockers. Again, this is a thing we use for people who have early onset breast cancer because of the way that breast cancer works, the things it needs to metabolize in order to continue to kill you. Puberty blockers stop that from being produced in the body. So this is not just going to hurt trans kids, but it does, hurt trans kids as well. As we've talked about on the channel several times before, yes, while there is a slight chance of infertility with puberty blockers, generally speaking, it doesn't happen. Most of the side effects of puberty blockers align with the side effects of naturally having a late puberty. And you can reverse puberty blockers by just not taking the puberty blockers. That's a thing that you can do. So wait, a vasectomy is reversible? Yes, a vasectomy is reversible. That's a thing, yes. This is my issue right here. I don't agree with stopping puberty blockers. They have a shit ton of use cases that aren't just trans kids, and even if they didn't, the side effects are not so great so as to be an issue here. Their argument to get rid of puberty blockers doesn't have to do with potential side effects. It has to do with changing the way that the child perceives themselves when it comes to gender, or in their case, sex, because they refuse to use the proper language. Except as provided in subsection 45 of the section, whoever knowingly gives permission for or permits on a child any act prohibited by subsection 1 of this section shall be guilty of a felony. So if you are a doctor who does it, if you are a parent who does it, then you will have a felony on your record and you will get prison time for trying to be a good parent and, helping provide affirming care for your child. That's not cool. 34, we go on to say, except as provided in subsection 45 of the section, whoever knowingly removes or causes, permits, or facilitates the removal of a child from this state for the purpose of facilitating any act prohibited by subsection 1 of this section shall be guilty of a felony. So if you take a child out of the state to go to a less backwards and corrupt state to receive affirming care, that is also a felony. If you can't make it illegal everywhere, make it illegal to leave. A surgical 45 says a surgical operation or medical intervention shall not be a violation if the operation or intervention is necessary for the health of the person on whom it is performed and performed by a person licensed in the place of its performance as a medical practitioner. Okay, so let's talk about being trans. I am the cis person here who will cringily explain the benefits of affirming care to other cis people, while trans people look at me and cringe and say, you got the heart, but you're not saying it right. Gender affirming care lowers trans suicide rates. Therefore, it is necessary to the health of the people. We can diagnose things like gender dysphoria. Therefore, it is necessary to the health of people to have gender affirming care. When I say health, I am also referring to mental health, unless some conservative or random person in my comment section who has 3 brain cells that are working oh so hard decides that they want to say mental health is different than bodily health, as if the brain isn't literally a flesh computer. The minute the brain stops being comprised of fleshy materials and organic bits is the day that I will agree that, sure, maybe it's different from the body in some way, shape, or form. But it's not. Consciousness is not the miracle you think it is. And believe me, in the blink of an eye, it will be gone for all of us. But continuing on, except that a medical intervention that results in the impairment and mutilation of the reproductive organs and parts of a child is never necessary to the health of the child on whom it is performed if it is for the sole purpose of attempting to change or affirm the child's perception of their sex, if that perception is inconsistent with the child's biological sex. So here's where they straight up say that no, medical intervention is not allowed if the kid is trans. None. I've mentioned before that puberty is a thing that should be able to be gone through with consent of the person. You are going to have to go through a puberty at some point, but the ability to choose which style, which brand of puberty you go through is a very important one, especially if somebody is AMAB. A lot of the things that we go through in puberty make it a lot harder to be seen as the gender that we are if we happen to not be the gender we're assigned at birth. Things like how your vocal cords end up constructing themselves through puberty is something that is not a perfect science to train that out. Even things like shaving Adam's apples and shit like that, they're still not perfect. It's not all about, genital surgery. There's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of stuff that you have to go through in puberty that will change how you operate as a person. And when you're going through puberty and dealing with those changes, again, we understand dysphoria is a thing. Not all trans people are dysphoric, but we understand it's a thing. Forcing somebody to go through that dysphoria and causing it to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until finally they hit adulthood where maybe or maybe not they'll be able to afford that care when they are no longer on their parents' insurance, assuming that their parents even had insurance for them to be on in the first place. Yeah, no, I'm not buying into the idea that, well, just do it when you're older. Just, don't worry about puberty blockers. Just go through your regular puberty at between 11 and 14 and then go through another puberty after you hit 21. Like, no, I'm sorry. I think that's a fucking stupid idea. The next part, it goes into saying that if this is performed on a person in labor or who was just given birth and is performed for medical purposes connected with that labor or birth by a person's license, the provision in this subsection shall not apply to a person acting in accordance with the good faith medical decision of a parent or guardian of a child with a medically verifiable genetic disorder of sex development. Oh, they do talk about intersex people here. They do talk about intersex people. Oh, no. A child with external biological sex characteristics that are ambiguous and irresolvable, such as a child having 46XX chromosomes with virilization, 46XY chromosomes with undervirilization, or with both ovarian and testicular tissue, or when a physician has otherwise diagnosed a disorder of sexual development in which the physician has determined through genetic testing that the child does not have the normal sex chromosome structure for a male or female. These shitheads like John Money? Yep, this is how you get more John Moneys that get to play God with kids and then lead to suicides later. So yes, fucking with intersex kids is still allowed under this law. They specifically have an exception that allows them to go, oh, well, they're intersex. Well, fuck, cut off the pee-pee. They might grow boobs later. They might not. Who the fuck knows? No. No. Nothing about this is good. In applying subsection 45 of this section, no account shall be taken of the effect of the person on whom the operation is to be performed, or any belief on the part of that person or any other person that the operation is required as a matter of custom or ritual. Any person convicted of a violation of this section shall be guilty of a felony and shall be imprisoned in the state prison for a term of not more than life. Of not more than life. Okay, that's ambiguous. For the purposes of this section, child means any person under 18 years of age. There is no point at which they do not want to be able to control your bodies. There is no point at which they do not want to be able to control all of your decisions. Only at the point where they are physically unable to control you will they relinquish that. And even after that point, there will be other bills that will try to restrict trans affirmative care for adults as well. Because there are things to restrict adults getting things like abortions as well. This extends past childhood. This is just the stopgap for childhood, so that they can write a different bill to fuck with trans adults. So this is the same kind of thing, thinking as tide goes in, tide goes out. Who can say, yeah, no, it's the same thing. It's people literally not understanding science or sociology and then writing a bill that takes both into consideration. Sorry, I said science or sociology. I meant biology and sociology. Before the random commenter goes, you see, even Suris subconsciously believes sociology isn't a real science. Shut up. It's also a felony to not report families who seek gender-affirming care. Yep. Like, it just in general, this fucks over parents, this fucks over doctors, this fucks over anybody who gives any type of affirmative care to a child ever, if the child is trans. This means that, like, legally you must be abusive to the child. Otherwise, Republicans will get very mad. And remember, this passed by, like, what, 65 to 15 or some shit like that, 55 to 15? It passed by a huge margin. And this is only the beginning. There's so many of these cropping up recently in the States. What happens in the state if everyone leaves the state and the state's population goes really low? Oh, so you mean we literally do a great replacement to Idaho? I think that'd be funny. Anyways, that's where we're at with Idaho. What do you think in the comment section below? This is where I throw the conversation back to you guys, because the kind of stuff makes me mad. So here we are in a post-Angry Suris world. As always, everybody, if you want to support my channel and what I do, Patreon's a wonderful option. Hitting the like button and subscribing is also a wonderful option. If you haven't already, please consider checking out my Twitch. And with all that said, as always, everyone, insert end video tagline here.